We have one little gal, her name is, call her Julia. She started a few years ago now. It's been 2 years. And the onset of her session, she couldn't tolerate an upright sit. Couldn't catch herself when she would walk, no language, no emotional response. She didn't interact in the environment, she didn't have emotional connection to people, which is tough for a family. And for a little girl, her job is to play in this world, and she couldn't, it was too confusing, too much for her.
Zane is Zane Robinson, and he's 9 years old, and he has Emmanuel syndrome. When Zane was born, there wasn't a name for it. It was just called unbalanced translocation 1122, which means an extra chromosome. So it's similar to other trisomies like Down syndrome, but it's actually a little bit more involved even, I think, than Down syndrome. Well, Zane also has something because of his syndrome called hypotonia, which is a neurological disorder, meaning really low muscle tone.
So hippotherapy is the movement of the horse for strengthening and increasing individuals' ADLs, activities of daily living. An occupational therapist, a speech therapist, or a physical therapist use the movement of the horse for reaching those goals.
So we're not constantly telling ourselves to sit upright, for example. Someone like Zane's neural pathways are not constantly firing at the same rate or the same strength, and so he has to be reminded to sit up.
So attention span, low tone as it relates to the sensory system. So we work a lot with sensory motor system compared to physical therapy where they work with their motor system and they work a lot on strengthening.
So the main thing I've seen over hippotherapy is that my son has a tendency to be really floppy and hang his head over. Is that now he's like got his head more upright and his spine is stronger.
They don't have that feedback about where they are in space, where their head is, how much energy it takes to bring a cup to their mouth. And so that's what we strengthen for them. That's what we use to strengthen for them, using the horse.
He doesn't move himself through space in that many ways. He doesn't even actually move himself in his wheelchair through space. So it would be really nice if he could get to a point to do that. Because I think once then you're moving through space, your world opens up so much. The hippotherapy kind of, well, it does, it activates those proprioceptive neurons in the body to wake it up and remind it.
And I think a lot of what therapy is allowing the individual time to figure it out, register it, look around, figure out what's going on, and then interact with the environment. So when we start our sessions, we ask them as much as independent as they can be to go, and then we give them about 5-7 minutes to just feel that rhythmic three-dimensional movement. No eye contact, no talking to them, and just allow them to fill up a little bit. Behind the horse is a horse handler. Her sole or his sole job is to make sure that horse is okay. Comfortable, relaxed, listening, that there's good communication between the two. And then opposing me would be the volunteer. So that person, out of the goodness of their heart, come every day and just for safety reasons have a hand on that child, directed by the therapist, how much, how little, and are there for safety precautions. And then then on the adjacent side, it's a therapist that's directing the session.
He actually is swimming at his school. It totally helps him. I mean, a kid whose gravity is not their friend because they're constantly fighting against gravity, water's perfect environment to either stretch him out. I mean, the thing about Zane too is that even though he's floppy, he's also tight. You know, he has spasticity and floppiness. And so in the water, you're able to like stretch him out in ways that you can't necessarily on the ground or standing up, or, you know, he definitely can relax and, you know, move through space like he can't do on his own. I mean, especially in comparison to other therapies. I mean, we've done basic physical therapy, occupational therapy his whole life as well, and there's no comparison. There really isn't. And it's definitely not been an easy pathway. I mean, just the fact that, you know, every Tuesday, he comes to HIPAA on Tuesday, I don't basically do anything else but that. So that's my whole day. I live in the city and I drive like an hour to come down here and then an hour back, and then, so it's like 3-hour deal, actually more because I have to go pick him up from school in the city from my house. So even that, you know, and it's not his only therapy. And the people who are sitting, you know, volunteering, often volunteering their time for this. I mean, this stuff is often volunteer based. You know, the therapists often get paid, but really the people who help and make it work, you know, there really isn't enough money to pay everybody as it is.
You know, life happens where families, it's expensive, you know, if you don't have insurance helping you. And so I've had a couple that we've been making great gains, and then with family circumstances are getting here, it hasn't worked out. So that's been, I still feel bad about that, you know, like they're doing really great. But I've never seen a kid that doesn't, that never made gains.
In the very beginning, we tried to get hydrotherapy, and actually the city said that it wouldn't help him, and so they weren't going to recommend it for him. And so then we had to pay out of pocket for hydrotherapy for a while, until my husband actually, we decided to fight the district on it because it was starting to get too expensive, and we noticed how much it was helping him, and we were going to continue. In the beginning, we thought, well, we'll try it, we'll pay it out of pocket for a while, and if he doesn't really enjoy it, or if it doesn't help him, they're right, you know, then maybe we won't pursue it.
And that's a responsibility of our industry, is to do good studies and prove that to insurance companies. And the only way to do that is to have great studies. The problem with that is that it's difficult in this environment to have good controls. We have horses that, how are you supposed to create good control? We have the horse handlers that create a lot of the input. And then to treat a kid in isolation, to have them for a prolonged period of time agree to have no other therapy except for HIPAA therapy, that's tough as well for a family.
We've always had private insurance. I think we've been really lucky, only because my husband's job. I think, so that was really fortunate for us. I think if we were trying to get private insurance, it would be impossible. Which is just awful. I know there's so many people in that situation. This current like healthcare situation makes me crazy. You know, they're always like, oh, our hearts go out to these people, and it's like, I just want to tell them, we don't want your hearts, we want your healthcare. That's not why people tell you those stories. They don't want you to feel sorry for them. They want you to give them healthcare that they have the right to. And it's still a financial burden on us, even though we do have healthcare. Zane even qualifies for Medi-Cal. So we have private insurance, then he has Medi-Cal. We still get, you know, our portion of it. And when you think about it, you know, no insurance covers your co-pays. No insurance covers completely any therapy. So there's a copay for everything you do. I mean, that totally adds up. Then there, of course, are things that they just outright won't pay for that you know are good for your child. You're going to do anyway if you can afford it. And I have to say, I think our whole family has been pretty lucky that no one's ever said to us, oh, Zane will never. You know, I know people get that story and it just breaks my heart. I think we've been pretty fortunate to have people tell us we don't know. You know, you don't know. No one knows what he's capable of. And I mean, even as his mother, I have no idea what he's capable of sometimes. But I do think he's going to be a walker and a signer.